Hello doctors. Today let's talk about an important and very confusing topic, that is about diabetes insipidus and the syndrome of inappropriate ADH. Usually this topic is very confusing because although the mechanisms are more or like each other, the clinical features that are seen are opposite, and the diagnostics we do that is also a bit different. So it is important to understand this topic rather than just reading it. So now let's talk about the topic. Normally, what happens when about the ADH and the diuresis? Usually we have the anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary, and we have two kidneys with which pass urine through the kidney tubules. Whenever our body thinks that we need to save some water, probably we are dehydrated, the posterior pituitary sends the ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone, to the kidneys, and there they attach to their receptors and reduce the water loss. Diuresis means loss of water. Antidiuresis means preventing the loss of water. So normally kidneys cause diuresis and antidiuretic hormone comes to save some water. Now in the case of diabetes insipidus, just see here we have the ADH. In case of diabetes insipidus, we do not have this ADH, which is called as central diabetes insipidus. If there are no ADH, then there is no antidiuresis, no conserving of water, just more and more water flows out, that is polyuria. The other type of diabetes insipidus is nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. Here you should see that the receptors in the kidney are absent or defective, but the ADH is still present, but this ADH has no receptor to act upon. This problem is at the level of kidneys, so it is called as nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. In both these cases, there is no antidiuretic hormone, that is no antidiuresis, only diuresis is present, so the patient has polyuria. Now the next one is SIADH, that is the syndrome of inappropriate ADH. Usually we have a normal amount of ADH that conserves normal amount of water, but SIADH, that is inappropriate ADH, we have lots and lots of ADH. Maybe it can be coming from any other sources in the body. This ADH goes and binds in the kidneys, causing severe antidiuresis, that is severe conserving of water. So the patient rarely urinates. All the water is being saved up in the body. Now let's clear the concept about osmolality. This is also a bit confusing. I think I have made the point clear here. Osmolality is just the amount of electrolytes present with respect to the amount of water present. I'll just simplify it. Electrolyte means the particles with charged ones, sodium, potassium, chloride, for example. Normally when you take a compartment in the body, you will have both water and electrolytes, but both should be in proper amounts. Then only we can maintain the osmolality. Now let's see. Just for example, take a compartment in the body and you have normal amount of water and normal amount of electrolytes. So it is normal osmolality. But when you take another compartment and you see there is less water in that, so automatically there would be more electrolytes. Just because the water is less, the electrolytes would look more. So this is high osmolality because high electrolytes. In another compartment, there is loss of electrolytes, but the water is still present. So in this case, it looks like there is more water than the electrolytes. So less electrolytes means low osmolality. Now, just as I said, I said compartments. Instead of compartments, let's have it as blood vessels. In the blood vessel, you see, in this case, there are more electrolytes than the water. So it is high plasma osmolality. In the blood vessels, we have blood and plasma. So in that, there are more electrolytes and less water, which means high plasma osmolality. Now take another compartment as the kidney tubules. Here, if you see, there are more electrolytes compared to water. More electrolyte means high osmolality. Since this is in the kidney tubules, it is called as high urine osmolality. This is the difference about plasma osmolality and urine osmolality. Now let's use this osmolality and differentiate diabetes insipidus versus SIADH. We mainly see for urine osmolality and plasma osmolality. Normally, there is normal urine osmolality and plasma osmolality. But in diabetes insipidus, if you see, there is very less antidiuretic hormone. So there is more diuresis, that means more water loss in the urine. Now take this urine compartment, more water in urine, so the electrolytes would be less. So since the electrolytes are less, the urine osmolality is low. But if you see, since all the water is lost in urine, in the body there would be less water. So in the blood vessels, if you see, the water is less, so the electrolytes would be more. This shows why there is high plasma osmolality. In SIADH, there is more antidiuretic hormone, so more antidiuresis. So only little water is lost in urine, which means there are more electrolytes in urine, which means high urine osmolality. If there is less water in the urine, there would be more water conserved in the body. If more water means the electrolytes would be less. If the electrolytes is less, it is called as low plasma osmolality. This is how you differentiate between diabetes insipidus and SIADH. Now, if you suspect a patient to have diabetes insipidus, you do a test called water deprivation test. Let's draw a graph. In the y-axis, let's take the urine osmolality and the x-axis as time. Normally, the plasma osmolality is in this way, but normally there is a patient coming to you and you want to check if he has diabetes insipidus. What you do is you do water deprivation test, that is, you do not give any water to the patient. When you do not give water, the patient urine would be less, as you know, which means there is less water in the urine in the kidney tubules, which means there is more electrolytes. If more electrolytes, the urine osmolality should be more. But if the patient is having diabetes insipidus, his urine osmolality would be less. So let's see what happens in the case of diabetes insipidus. If you see here, the patient's urine osmolality will be really less because the patient does not have much of electrolytes in urine. It's more of water. At this point, you give antidiuretic hormone. If the urine osmolality increases, it must be a central diabetes insipidus, because in the problem in central diabetes insipidus was there was no ADH coming from the pituitary. But if the problem was nephrogenic, that is no receptor, even after giving ADH there would be no change. So you can confirm it as nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. This is how you do a water deprivation test. Now just like that, for diabetes insipidus, we have another test for SIADH, that is water loading test. Normally when you load water or give lots of water to a patient, he will excrete lot of water in the urine, which means there should be less electrolytes in urine. So urine osmolality should be less. But if the patient is having SIADH, let's see what happens. This is normal. The patient will have high urine osmolality because even after giving lots of water, the patient has lots of ADH, so he will conserve all the water in the body. So the urine will have more of electrolytes. That's why in SIADH the urine osmolality is high. This is how you do a water deprivation test and water loading test and confirm the diagnosis. Now let's see a slide talking about the differences between all these. We have central, nephrogenic and SIADH. In the central diabetes insipidus, the problem was low ADH production. In nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, there was ADH resistance at nephron because the receptors were defective. In SIADH, the problem was high ADH production. Now let's see the causes. For central, it can be cancer or TB or sarcoidosis, which can infiltrate the pituitary gland and make it defective, not producing ADH. In nephrogenic, it can be congenital or the drug lithium. In SIADH, it is usually ectopic production, that is production of ADH other than the normal site. It can be coming from a lung cancer or a pancreas cancer producing ADH. Head injury and the cancer drug vincristine can cause SIADH. What are the features? In central, we saw the urine osmolality was low and plasma osmolality was high because there is lots of water running out in the urine. So when lots of water are lost in the urine, there would be less water in the body, so the electrolytes would be more, so the patient would have hypernatremia. In nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, it's the same: low urine osmolality, high plasma osmolality and hypernatremia. In SIADH, there is high urine osmolality, low plasma osmolality, hyponatremia, because there is less water lost in urine and more water is inside the body, so it will dilute the electrolytes. So there is hyponatremia. But since there is more water inside the body, you may think that the patient's body volume would be more or hypervolemia, but it is not. In SIADH, the patient is usually euvolemic, that is normal amount of body fluids. No edema is seen. This is because due to a special mechanism by aldosterone. Let's not go into that. Just remember that the patient would have euvolemia, but all others would be different. Then in water deprivation test, we saw that the urine osmolality became normal once we gave ADH. But in nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, it was still low because whatever ADH we gave, it could not act at the kidney because there are no receptors. In SIADH, the urine osmolality was high. For treatment, we give desmopressin. ADH is also called as vasopressin. Desmopressin is just an synthetic analog of vasopressin. Instead of giving ADH, we give desmopressin. In nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, we give thiazide diuretics and amyloid. This is a bit contradictory. The patient is already having diuresis, but we are giving a diuretic. This has a different mechanism in which we make the patient diurese and stop the diuresis. And we also give amyloid. For SIADH, we give demaclocycline or conivaptan just to alter the receptors so that whatever the amount of ADH is present, it cannot go unattached to the receptors. So that was about the differences between diabetes insipidus and SIADH for you. Thank you, doctors.